and welcome back to the Reapers. So we're cracking on with the A-10C. Now before we get in the air, the next thing we've got to do is looking at the HUD, the HUD Mode and the HUD Symbology. So first of all, Sherman, I'm hot started, I'm in this plane, I'm looking at the first HUD mode. What is this, some kind of navigation mode? I haven't changed anything. And
by default, you are in what is known as the Nav Mode. What this means basically is it will prevent any weapon apart from your gun from firing, so long as you don't pull the weapons release button.
Is there any way? How do I know it's in Nav Mode? Does it tell me anywhere? Nav Mode or?
When you cycle the mode on your HUD, it will pop up with the name of the mode on the HUD for a second.
Okay, I'm just going to do that cycle because I haven't tried that yet. So okay, that's.
So first you'll see gun. Then Ccip, CCRP, and back to Nav Mode. You will notice in the Nav Mode, any weapons information disappears from the HUD.
Lovely job. Right, that's all made complete sense. Right, let's start with the HUD Symbology then. So, the first thing I notice is it's actually hard to fit on the HUD glass. Does yours kind of poke off the edge, or is that just me?
Yes, it is like that. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it might have something to do with how the seating is arranged in the era before VR, but that's something you just kind of have to live with, unfortunately, or either move your head forward and back.
Roger.
Another thing you might notice is part of the HUD goes below you.
Yeah,
or below
really
you.
Annoying. Okay, so we're literally going to start with this HUD. So at the top left, I've got 140 and then a box and then 0.0. What on earth is that?
Hang on. 140 for 0. That is your waypoint indicator. It is telling you, relative to your current position, where your current selected waypoint is.
Right, so is this 140 the bearing?
Bearing 140, yes.
Interesting, I haven't given us any waypoints. Is there like a default?
It's using your start position.
Okay,
so where you are currently sitting now is actually your relative position.
Yeah, that's fine. So that would say if I had a waypoint out there at 180, it would say 180 for 10 miles or something.
I mean, I'm not entirely certain that's 100% accurate, to be honest, but it is definitely marking your currently selected waypoint.
Right, we'll have a play about that later with the navigation. And then we go below that. I've got 0.9 on the left. What's that? 0.9. 0.9. Is it G? It's probably G. I reckon that's going to be G.
You're right. It does seem to be just slightly below 1G, so you're probably right. That is the G meter.
Okay, we'll check that out, but we think it's probably the G meter. 50, is that airspeed?
Yes.
Down?
Yes.
Airspeed,
in the HUD, it does not notify your airspeed below 50 knots.
Yeah, because I imagine the pitot tube just doesn't really work at much lower.
Well,
it was not accurate.
Well, it's that, and when you take off, you're supposed to disable your nose wheel steering above 50.
Roger. Below that's a star. Is that of any use to us?
That tells you that your HUD is what is known as the sensor of interest. We will go into that in another video.
Roger that. Below that, I've got D5/B1. Any idea? Okay, so that's that. Now we're going to jump to the top, guys. So we'll look up. Now we've got a circle with like a circle pipper with a dot in the middle and a hatch line around.
It is the depressible pipper. Is a dot in the center of a dashed circle. Consists of 8 equally spaced dashes, gaps. Using the manual depression on the UFC, the pipper can be positioned from +10 to -300 mils with respect to the 0 sight line. So it is a fixed horizontal HUD center line and not wind corrected.
It's a gun pipper, is that what we're saying? Is it a gun pipper, guys? Or an aiming pipper? It's an aiming pipper, isn't it? It's just an aiming pipper.
Yeah.
So why...
like the F5 manual pipper.
Out of interest, why have I got it in nav mode? Just obvious question to ask.
So let's say something goes wrong, like either your navigation hasn't been set up correctly on startup or has been damaged due to battle damage. You still want to fire your gun. You need a relative idea of where you want to zero your weapon.
Okay, fine. Right, now below that, on the equator line at the moment, is what looks like a velocity vector, but I may be wrong, or a directional vector. Do you see what I mean?
Yes, velocity vector just below that. It's easier to see when you don't have the thingy on top of it, but that is most definitely the velocity vector.
Is that where the aeroplane is going? Is that right?
Yes.
It's moving.
Yes.
That's fine, so that's that. Right, that's useful. I like aircraft that have that. Next is the pitch ladder, so you got, 0 degrees there, -5 degrees there, 10 degrees there, and then it'll go up all the way to 90 or whatever. That's fine. Now we're going to look on the right hand side. Nothing at the top right. We go down, we've got 50 again. Is that another speed on the right hand side for some reason?
That is actually altitude.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes. And
you're 50 feet above sea level.
Roger, and we can probably change that between barometric and...
So just below that is what is called a flight path angle. The flight path angle is displayed below the altitude numeric. A minus sign is displayed for negative values and positive values are unsigned. The flight path angle ranges from 90 positive to 90 negative.
Is that pitch? Does that mean it's like the
Yeah,
pitch?
so basically it's a visual it's a numeric representation of your pitch.
Pitch ladder, yep, that's fine. Right, now we're going to go down and... Oh, sorry, we've got some stuff down at the bottom. Here's our compass strip along the bottom. 130, 140 and whatnot.
Alright, I'm coming in to put it back down.
What does Delta 5/B1 mean?
Let me find it in the docs. Number 20 says it is DTAS SAS mode and FOM message. This field displays the DT SAS mode and FOM message as set on the EGI CDU.
Roger, I mean, yeah, I've got my SAS all set on, so I guess it's just saying I've got it on. Makes sense, doesn't it?
So basically it's telling you that what your system is assigned to.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, and the SAS has got a hydraulic dampener. I can't remember what B1 is, but okay, that's good enough. Next, down below that, I've got Sierra Tango, Papa Tango. Have you got that? Right at the very bottom there.
That refers to your nav points setting. So currently you have it set to the steer point mode. What this means is any currently set up steer points are being targeted.
Right, okay.
Actually, let me double check that in the docs. It's funny, it doesn't actually mention, but yes, that definitely stands for steer point.
Sounds like CDU stuff to me.
It is.
Yes, so your steer point is set up either by your flight plan, your mission, or your marks. Not entirely sure why it's at that point, but irrelevant.
Okay, are we happy to move on?
Yes.
Next, if we go to the bottom right, a whole bunch of numbers. The topmost is 10 Romeo. Any idea?
That is the
Radar
altimeter.
Oh, that's the radar altimeter in feet above. Okay, that's fine. Next is 0/initial position. 0/initial position. Any idea?
That is
Waypoint 0, which is named your initial position.
Roger.
Yeah, so, and you are 0 miles from your initial position.
Roger.
You are at it.
Next is 0.0 m, probably miles, /DTS.
0.0 miles DTS direct to steer point, I think.
So direct to steer point is 0.0 miles
Yes,
away.
by the way, Cap, I figured out what that thing at the bottom left is. It is telling you what is assigning your current SPI, your sensor point of interest. Yeah, so it essentially sets what my SPI is. So now I've set, your SPI is currently set to your steer point, so don't worry about that.
Alright, we'll go over that later in nav. Okay, fine. And then finally it's got 2 times at the bottom right. One time is 1800, the other time is 0800. Any idea why it's got 2 times?
I think
So the one is current time and...
Yeah, the other one's your TOT.
So which one's the TOT? The one on the top or the bottom?
I believe bottom.
Okay.
I'm not there right
No,
now.
bottom is current time.
Current
If you look at your clock, on the front dash, you'll see it matches perfectly.
Yeah, so right, that is current time, and that is time on target, the 18. Okay, are we happy?
It is time to go and time on target, depending on your HUD mode.
Roger that. Are we happy we've covered that nav then? Ready to move on to next mode?
Yes.
Right, let's try to do a bit there on the list. So the next one is added a little bit. It said guns, so we know this is for the gun. Now it's added, first of all, I see at the top, it's exactly the same, it's just got a small cross below the velocity vector. Have you seen that? A small cross.
This is
cross?
the gun cross. In this case, it is the CCI gun. CCI key gun cross.
Roger, is that where the gun's firing? Is that where or is it the dotted pipper?
That's where your bullets will land once the gun is fired.
Roger that. Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
so it's similar in function to the Harrier. So at the moment you won't see things like the range carrot, etc., because you're on the ground.
Okay, that's fine. Yep, that makes sense. Right, next is bottom left. We've got new terminology. CM, what's that? Combat mix.
Yes.
Yes.
And remaining bullets.
Type of bullets and remaining bullets. There's a lot of bullets. Delta 5B1 still there. Arm. It says arm. So does that mean it's armed or not armed? It means
Gun
it's
is armed.
The gun is armed there, which I did by master arm.
It's the master arm actually, so arm safe, and if you disarm your gun, you'll notice the field below it is set to ground safe, and
Yeah.
if you set it to arm, it'll still be ground safe because you're on the ground.
Yeah, and that's ground safe, and you can arm it on the ground, can't you, with that switch at the back?
There's an emergency override you can do, but I'd rather you don't blow yourself up yet.
Roger.
Yeah, we learned about that yesterday, I believe.
And that is all that's different there, so that was an easy one, guys. Okay, next let's go to the next mode, standby. CCIP, so this is for, I'm guessing, bombs? CCIP?
Right. So the first thing you'll notice in CCIP is you get another small cross, right?
Standby. Yep, cross is there.
Right. So currently you have no weapon selected because your pylons are empty.
Roger.
What that is, it's one of the secondary gun sights for gun CCIP that you can use in gun mode, but it's also displayed in CCIP mode to allow you to use the gun if needed.
Roger. Okay, and then obviously this would probably say different stuff if we had weapons on, but we don't. But on the left we've got star now, where it used to say arm, I think. So that's probably, I don't know what that means. And there's manual.
No.
The star is just saying that your HUD is the sensor of interest. It just means
yes, we talked about this earlier in the nav mode, where your gun arm stuff was. You'll see it says manual release.
Okay.
And then below that, it should say the selected weapon. In this case, weapons off because you don't have any weapons.
Right, so it would say, for instance, on the Maverick or whatever, if we had a weapon there. What does manual release mean? It just means that the computer's not going to fire it?
It basically means I click the button, the weapon goes.
Roger, that's that. And then it says arm down at the bottom, so we know it's armed. So that's pretty easy. That's CCIP. Let's see what we've got next. I should say CCIP is continuously calculated impact point. And now if we do it one more, we've got CCRP, continuously counted release point. So slightly different way of essentially using ordnance. And it's slightly different. It says weapons off, but it doesn't say manual release anymore.
That's because you don't have any weapons to release.
Yeah, so it would give me... Yeah.
Yeah, that and the fact that CCRP, it kind of prevents you from releasing the weapon until you are within parameters. So common practice in the A-10 is to fly over the target when it's marked in CCRP, press and hold 5 seconds prior to the markdown, and when you fly over the release point, it will release automatically.
It releases automatically with CCRP, that's how it works. Right, okay, so there will be more stuff that comes up in the HUDs as we arm weapons and stuff, but we'll show that on the weapons video. So until now, I think that's everything in the HUD. Anything to add before we turn off the HUD?
So just below the HUD, you see this keypad. That's
Roger.
the UFC.
Roger.
That's basically this... Oh, go ahead.
Entry.
It's a basic recreation of the keyboard that's off to your bottom right, but we're only the only function I want to go over with this one is the select button while in gun mode.
Roger.
So go to gun mode and press up and down on the select up and down buttons. You'll notice that the gun sight cycles through several modes.
Stand by. Where does it change? I'm pressing select as SEL on the right, isn't it?
Yes, SEL. So if you're in guns mode,
I can't see it change anything, Chairman. What's it meant to be changing?
the gun sight.
Is your gun armed?
Is it just master arm?
Master arm and
gun arm.
Oh, hey, have you guys checked out the alternate HUD mode on the left-hand panel below the MFCD?
Have a look at a minute.
Normal and standby. Oh, good God! Cap's definitely not going to use that.
Oh no, I don't even. But it's still interesting.
Okay, guys.
Yeah,
so
don't worry.
it's changing now, Sherman. It's changing between a cross.
Right. So basically, these are all different backup gun sights. They have less reliability than your standard gun sight, but they're good to have in an emergency.
Roger. So, okay, that's fine. Okay, we'll go over that more on the gun sight. Anything else on the HUD?
That should be everything other than if you were to cycle steer points, but we have no steer points to currently cycle, so we will deal with that later.
Copy that.
You can make a flight plan and make them steer points.
Okay, thanks for that. We'll crack on with the next video after this. See you later.